It's become a huge part of the nation's fascination with the NFL. Fantasy football has become a huge deal over the last few decades, and proof of that is the Sports Illustrated Fantasy Football Championship taking place in Las Vegas. Ian Ritchie is the founder of Full-Time Fantasy Sports and the Fantasy Football World Championship. Congratulations on getting SI on board. This is the 8th year of the championship, the Fantasy Football Championship, the first year that Sports Illustrated is on board with you.
Yeah, it's a big distribution partnership for us. It's worked out really well. It's been a great partnership. They could use a little help with a brand in fantasy, and we were right there in a world championship paired up with Sports Illustrated is two really great brands, and we're really excited about the future.
Yeah, you've done so much in such a short time, and you're riding this wave, this craze. Yeah. So because we have a broad audience, obviously, I want to make sure we don't leave anybody behind in this conversation. A lot of my friends will say, hey, what is fantasy football, and how would you describe it to someone who has never played fantasy football?
Right. It's the thrill of being able to pick players from different teams. So you may root for the Oakland Raiders, or excuse me, the Las Vegas Raiders now.
Right.
But you have the ability to draft and pick players from different teams. And so it really spreads out your interest in the league a lot and makes you really watch lots of different games, rooting for lots of players, every catch, every run, every touchdown, every fumble. There's a lot of action, so every play helps your team, and you score points. And look, it's really not a lot different than what happens here in Vegas with the sports books, right? You kind of get that rush of a feeling when your guys are playing and you're playing a head-to-head game.
And you have people cheering for what appear to be meaningless plays. You know, in the sports books, same thing with fantasy football.
Right.
Somebody makes a tackle that's a loss, and it changes the entire game for one of your leagues. All right, so if you're in fantasy football, there's some questions right now in a lot of people's mind. First of all, I have Ezekiel Elliott, so I'm relieved. He's back on the field. But for Marlon Mack, who is the running back for the Indianapolis Colts, he's on my team, and Andrew Luck retiring, what does that do, and what has that done for his value in drafts?
Right, it's tough. So Marlon Mack's draft window, we call it, has been 42 to 60 in the World Championship. So he's been as low as 42, as high as 60. We reduced his projections by about 10% after the Luck retirement. It'll cost him some catches. It'll cost him some yards. I think Nyheim Hines might be a little more involved. But you know, having Jacoby Brissett come in is not as big a drop-off as a lot of teams who come in with a backup quarterback. So we still have him ranked pretty high. He's still going around 50 in our drafts, whereas another player in this situation who would lose a quarterback would drop a lot further than that.
And people who, I've been in the same league for, I think, 20-some-odd years, people win and lose based on these sleepers, these players nobody's expecting to do well. They come out of nowhere. Do you have any predictions on who will be the big sleepers this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple guys, right? There's, you know, we look at the difference between where people are drafted in the World Championship leagues as compared to where they're drafted in a lot of home leagues. And one of the biggest differences is Christian Kirk.
I got him.
You do. Yeah. There you go. From Arizona. He's wide receiver 32 and average draft position 32 in the World Championships. In most home leagues, he's about mid-50s to 60. It's about a 40 draft position difference. And so we think he's got a lot of value. So I keep our eye on him. And then we like Lamar Jackson as a quarterback in the 12th, 13th, 14th rounds in there.
Well, listen, congratulations again. The 8th Annual Fantasy Football Championship. You can check it out, the SI Fantasy Football World Championships. It's at the Palms Casino Resort through this weekend. We'll be right back.